Hey friends, welcome to a brand new series on my channel where you're cooking with Chef Emily. I've been a chef for about 20 years. As you can see, I went to the Culinary School of Canada, and here I am. And today I thought we would get started on um, making the one thing that I started baking on. This cookbook is a million years old. As you can see, it's full of crap. The cover isn't the cover anymore. It's from Let's Bake Bread Together. Now, this cookbook is from the United Churches of Canada. I actually grew up in the United Church, so I just good home cooking and things like that. But this recipe book came from a very dear friend of the family. Um, and when she passed away in 2008, and I have kept this book, and her name was Bessie Dalrymple, and she was a wonderful, wonderful lady. And she is somewhere featured on my fridge. We shall feature the Bessie. That's Bessie. You can see her there. Beautiful lady. She was a wonderful, wonderful lady. And and she wrote all through, like, it says use this recipe on here, and when I was like looking through the cookbook a million years ago when I got it, I came across this, use this recipe, and it's kind of how I got started cooking. Both over here. Um, so, so we're going to start with, I thought it would be kind of great that we would start this series off with the first thing that I really got started cooking with when you know, so, welcome to my kitchen. It's my home kitchen. The first thing we do before we cook is wash our hands. I always like to, when I wash my hands, I like to get my fingernails underneath my other nails so I can like dig out the crap that's stuck under there. Now that we washed our hands, and that is a clean towel. I just grabbed it on my dryer, so no, it's not the nasty ass gritty hand towel that's been sitting there for a few days and I just washed my hands and then dried it on some germ. Nope, didn't do that. Okay, so behind me, I have everything you need. I got sugar, butter, salt, baking powder, eggs, milk. In the fridge, I do have the butter. The recipe does call for shortening. I don't have shortening. I thought about going to get shortening, but I just was like, you know what? We're going to use butter. It will affect how it rises. The different types of fat does affect your baking. That's why, like, baking is science, and you have to follow the exact recipe and what they want. Substitutes you can do, but they won't give you the exact recipe you're looking for. This is why, when you're baking, you got to do what it says. Cooking, you can go off the recipe a little, you can do your variations, but with baking is science, and science is exact. But, well, after I said that, I'm like, well, I don't have any shortening. So, but it is what it is, and I'm going to Rib Fest in a little while, and I kind of wanted to, first thing we do is we preheat the oven to 450. So, turn on the oven. Ever had a non-coil stove before? At home, I've always had. I don't like this. I don't like it for cleaning. It's a lip. It's not a friend of mine. I don't like it. Now it's time to bake. Now it's time to put all our ingredients in the bowl. in my drawer back here, I have a bunch of different measuring cups. So we have our dry measuring spoons, cup, and now we're getting our measuring cup. And the difference between the dry and the wet is because the wet holds more than the dry. A fluid ounce is different than a regular ounce. So that's why you need to have a dry measuring cup and a wet measuring cup. The recipe calls for 2 cups of all-purpose flour sifted. So we take our sifter and we put our sifter over the bowl. Take our measuring cup and we'll grab a knife, kind of help level out the stuff, right? So we're getting exact cup here, right? No generous portions when it comes to baking. For the next one, and I don't waste this flour. Me not thinking. Thing. Back and forth. You want to move it back and forth. Can you see? Again, good. Like it's exact, and then done. I don't know what's going on with my nose, but it's like the itchiest nose right now. It's, you know what it is, it's Murphy's Law. It's like when you wash your hands and you can't touch your face, you automatically need to just touch your face, right? So we're gonna sift the flour. See how I do it? And just all of the crap, all of the shit you don't want, it's going to stay up top. Really, it wasn't that bad. Actually, it's just like the bits of the bag and shit, right? You know? So it's 1 tablespoon of sugar. Tablespoon sugar. 1 tablespoon of sugar. That could have been so much worse than that. 1 tablespoon of sugar. 4 teaspoons of baking powder. Same thing with your knife. Take it and level it out. You didn't need to do that with the sugar because it was a lot easier. 1. You know, when I went to culinary school and they taught us like the correct way to make things, and I never was able to make these the same way because when I went to culinary school, it said that you want your dough to be wet. You don't want to add any extra crap to it. Like that's how it is. But anytime like at home remedies, things like that, I've always been taught to add more flour, knead it into your, so when I went to culinary school, before doing that and then going to culinary school and then having the baker chef tell me to not do that, my biscuits were never the same. And I don't bake biscuits like they want you to in culinary school. Alright, so we added the baking powder, we added the sugar, and now it's time to add the salt. And it is 1 teaspoon of salt. My salt container got wet, so I got these from the bay before they were gone. All these great little containers for things. Yeah, one from my water next to my water jug. But then I got all these other ones that are like perfect little sizes. And things still washing them because I hadn't used them. All right, so this thing is literally from the early 1900s. It is amazing. It is perfect. It is the greatest for getting that consistency. Don't want to wet it because what? She's just kind of hanging over there for a while. A lot of the things I have are from Bessie. You know, she was a wonderful woman and I miss her all of the time. So, now we have that done. Next is we're going to add the butter to this, and then we're going to mix this all together. I wouldn't have added the salt if I would have read this properly. This butter is salted. I wouldn't have added the salt because you really should not buy salted butter, but I just have it from leftover, and I like, well, you know what? Use it before I lose it. And it's like really hard to open. So there's always there's two really good ways to incorporate your butter. Some like to chop it up in little bits, like what I'm doing right now. Others like to grate it in because, yes, it does incorporate better when you grate in your butter. I don't overly want to grate in my butter at this moment, so we are doing it this way. Just take it and you break it apart and you put it in. Whatever, right? Do what you can, as you can. Try to get them as small as you can. Alright, we just put the last piece of butter in there. Take it, put it all together. What I'm doing there, get it all in, breaking up all the butter, trying to keep all the butter and the flour in the bowl. You want the consistency of sand or whatever, right? You want that choppy feel. If we're making biscuits. We're making biscuits. It's great because the rib fest is going on, and it was raining for most of the morning, and it stopped raining now. And as soon as I'm done this, Jeremy and I are gonna go to that, which will be great because then I'll be able to bring back some pulled pork because they have pulled pork and mac and cheese and ribs, and I'll bring some pulled pork back and have pulled pork and some biscuits later. Maybe go to the store and get some strawberries and have some strawberry shortcake. Still knocking everything in just getting warm because I'm wearing the coat. I don't have any windows open or anything like that right now. So in the comments, I want you guys to tell me what you guys want to make next. I am a very skilled chef. We can make anything you want. So we can keep cooking through this cookbook, or we can just do something different. All right. So I think that that's pretty good. I want it to kind of look like you didn't really see. I'm trying to. No, kind of looks like that. Now that we have the shortening, we have so far, we put the the flour, the sugar, the baking powder, the salt, and the sugar, the shortening, all in the bowl. And next, we're going to, with our fingers, we're going to add the 1 egg beaten to 2/3 cup of milk. So on the thing, it has the measuring, so we're going to go to the 2/3. So it's best to keep your measuring cup on a flat while you're trying to get. Alright, there's your 2/3 of milk. And 1 egg. It's good to crack your egg on a flat surface as well. Best way to reduce not getting any shells. We're going to heat up that egg. Before we do anything else, just kind of clear the space. I always like to, while I'm making, for baking, to put things back as I go, because then you don't have a huge mess. I'm going to take this cloth here and just give the table a little bit of a wipe down here. I'm going to move that over here because I'm going to want to use as much of the table as I possibly can. To put a floured surface down, and once we mix our dough, we're going to put the dough on here and we're going to knead it out. And then once we knead it out, we're going to make little rounds and put it right in the oven. So I got these. I used to use a million years ago. Do I still have it? Just a mason jar top. And I got these molds. So we're going to use this mold for our biscuits. Rolling pins and things, and we can do so much. Like, especially like with these. I got these cute little silicone mold things, and I would love to bake with them. I have fondant. I have old fondant, like anything that we would make with it, it would be just to make with it for fun. But we could definitely use it. Alright, so we have our rolling pins, we have our flour mixture, we have our egg mixture, we have flour here to sprinkle on the floured surface. So, the next thing to do is just make our biscuits. So I made a well. See? The well. It fell. But just basically to pour your liquid in the center of your whatever it's called, your flour, because that is like a well. You know, a hole where the water goes. And then we're just going to mix it, the fork, until it comes together. Mixing it, fork, all together. See? That's all together. Now, before we get our hands too gross, we're going to take and sprinkle some flour. And then we're going to add our mixture too. And then once it's in a ball, you're going to take the heel of your palm and push down. And then you're going to fold. And you're going to do this a few times to get yeah, my table's on wheels. To get your thing to your dough ball into a nice dough ball. See? And do that a few times just until it's a nice ball. See? And we want it to look like this. And you want it to nice firm but not firm like Play-Doh. That's kind of where you want to go. Now when I freshly flour, I like to get rid of that flour that's left behind. Take our flour. We'll just sprinkle some more on. And push it out because we're going to roll out the dough. More flour. Good to come on here. And you just roll out the dough. I'm going to try to, I thought the thing was locked, the wheels. It's not. So it's rolling. So you just, and you don't want them too thin, and you don't want them too thick. You want them like about a ½ inch up, because you want your biscuits nice and fluffy, right? We're making biscuits. Not making a whole bunch of cookies, we're making biscuits. I'll show you how thick. Like that. You know, good. That's a good thickness. You know, it's not a whole big round. It's, you know, so just always like dip your, and then biscuit. Flat down. And another biscuit. And sometimes don't get a perfect circle, sometimes get a perfect circle. You know? Whatever. You get what you get. The biscuits, not, you know, not making for the queen. Making home, making stuff for home. Chill, easy peasy, lemon squeezy biscuit. Cloud biscuit for a wonderful soul who's up in her paradise. You know, I'm not overly a religious person. I do believe that there are ghost spirits. So where we go, that'd be fun to find out, but you know. Okay, so we have a little bit extra, and you don't really want to make work it too much, because the more you work it, the harder your biscuits are gonna be. So I'm probably gonna do about 3 more, and then what's left I'm just gonna throw out. One's kind of crappy, one's gonna be a crappy one, but other than that, like that, I'm not using. I'm gonna chuck out. So we have our biscuits. Supposed to be using a 2-inch biscuit flour. And this makes about 2 dozen. We made 6, 12. We did not make 2 dozen. So we're going to put it in the oven for 14 minutes. So we have 14 minutes to wait. All right, well, the timer just went off. I like to call attention to my wonderful mitten. Yes. Look at that. You see? You can't see. Look at that here. You see it now? You see them? Beautiful these are. Gorgeous. Wonderful. Amazing. perfect these are. I have that freaking drawer opened again. And then you can see the wonky ones, right? This is why we don't usually. Yeah, have that. Isn't that just amazing? They're beautiful, perfect, they're light, they're fluffy. I hope you got to enjoy this, and I hope you learn a lot, and subscribe. Thank you for cooking. Oh, I got the hiccup. Thanks for cooking with Chef Emily.